Imagine gazing into the night sky, stars scattered like diamonds on black velvet. This feeling, this instinctive recognition of something greater than ourselves, lies at the heart of the Ontological Gap Hypothesis. It's the idea that there exists a fundamental, unbridgeable chasm between the divine, the ultimate reality, and us, the finite beings inhabiting this pale blue dot. This hypothesis isn't just an abstract theological debate. It shapes our understanding of the divine, our place in the cosmos, and the very nature of existence itself. Join me as we delve into the Ontological Gap Hypothesis and explore its profound implications for understanding the divine and our place within the grand tapestry of existence. The universe, as revealed by science, is a place of vast scales and mind-boggling phenomena. This immensity can evoke a sense of awe and wonder, but it also highlights the sheer disparity between ourselves and the forces that govern the cosmos. The Ontological Gap Hypothesis echoes this sense of disparity, but instead of focusing on the physical universe, it delves into the realm of metaphysics. It posits that the divine, the source of all creation, operates on a plane of existence so fundamentally different from our own that any comparison falls short. Just as a painting, however beautiful, can never fully encapsulate the essence of the artist, we, as creations, are inherently limited in our capacity to grasp the fullness of the divine. Instead, it invites us to approach this quest with humility, recognizing the inherent limitations of our finite minds. The Ontological Gap Hypothesis, while acknowledging the profound difference between the divine and human, doesn't negate the possibility of a relationship. It simply reframes it. If we envision the divine as an unfathomable ocean of existence, we, with our limited understanding, are like ships on its surface. This realization, far from leading to despair, can be liberating. It frees us from the burden of complete comprehension, allowing us to approach the divine with wonder and curiosity. The Ontological Gap Hypothesis challenges us to rethink our approach to the divine. It's a call to humility, to recognize the limitations of human language and thought when confronting the infinite. The Ontological Gap Hypothesis, while often associated with medieval theology, has roots that stretch back to the dawn of philosophical thought. Plato, for instance, envisioned a realm of perfect, unchanging forms, of which the physical world was but a pale reflection. This distinction between the eternal, perfect forms and the transient, imperfect physical world foreshadowed the Ontological Gap Hypothesis, hinting at a fundamental disparity between the divine and the human. While the ancient Greeks provided the philosophical scaffolding, it was with the rise of monotheistic religions that the Ontological Gap Hypothesis took on a more defined form. The medieval period witnessed a flourishing of theological discourse, with thinkers like Thomas Aquinas becoming central figures in shaping the Ontological Gap Hypothesis. Aquinas, a Dominican friar and one of the most influential theologians in Christian history, sought to reconcile faith and reason, drawing heavily upon the philosophy of Aristotle. In his magnum opus, Summa Theologica, Aquinas meticulously constructs a theological framework that emphasizes the absolute transcendence of God. He argues that God, as the uncaused cause, the unmoved mover, exists outside the categories of human understanding. Aquinas introduces the concept of analogy to bridge the seemingly insurmountable gap between God and humanity. Aquinas' work had a profound impact on Christian theology, solidifying the idea of the ontological gap as a cornerstone of theological thought. The Enlightenment, with its emphasis on reason, scientific inquiry, and individual autonomy, brought about a shift in the way many viewed the relationship between the divine and the human. The rise of deism, for example, proposed a more distant clockmaker God who created the universe but then stepped back, allowing it to operate according to natural laws. Immanuel Kant, a towering figure of the Enlightenment, while critiquing traditional proofs for God's existence, argued for the necessity of a transcendental realm to make sense of human experience. The question shifted from proving God's existence to exploring the implications of a reality that might fundamentally transcend human comprehension. Modern theology, grappling with the implications of secularism, scientific advancements, and the persistence of religious belief, has taken diverse approaches to the ontological gap hypothesis. Process theology, for instance, influenced by the philosophy of Alfred North Whitehead, views God not as an unchanging, absolute being, but as a dynamic, evolving reality, intimately involved in the creative process of the cosmos. This perspective blurs the sharp distinction between the divine and the created, suggesting a more interconnected and interdependent relationship. Other theologians, however, maintain the importance of upholding God's radical otherness, arguing that attempts to bridge the ontological gap diminish the mystery and majesty of the divine. The ontological gap hypothesis, in the context of modern theology, remains a subject of ongoing debate. At the heart of the ontological gap hypothesis lies a profound metaphysical distinction, the chasm between the finite and the infinite. Imagine a tiny ant trying to comprehend the vastness of the Grand Canyon. Similarly, the human mind, bound by its finite nature, struggles to grasp the concept of an infinite being. Our experience is rooted in time and space, cause and effect, beginning and end. The ontological gap hypothesis, rather than discouraging inquiry, invites us to engage with the mystery of the divine from a posture of awe and wonder. Language, our primary tool for communication and understanding, faces a formidable challenge when confronted with the ontological gap. The words we use, rooted in our finite experience, struggle to capture the essence of a being that transcends those very limitations. When we speak of God as powerful, for instance, we draw upon our understanding of power as it manifests in the human realm. Yet God's power, as conceived by the ontological gap hypothesis, operates on an entirely different plane. The ontological gap hypothesis compels us to approach religious language with a hermeneutics of humility, recognizing that our words are more like stained glass windows than clear panes, offering glimpses of a transcendent reality without fully capturing its essence. Despite the limitations of language, the human mind has always sought ways to bridge the ontological gap, to find points of connection between our experience and the incomprehensible vastness of the divine. Analogies, drawing comparisons between the familiar and the unknown, have served as valuable, albeit imperfect, tools in this endeavor. The image of God as a shepherd, for instance, evokes themes of guidance, protection, and care. Similarly, the analogy of God as a potter, molding clay into vessels of various shapes and purposes, touches upon the creative power and sovereignty attributed to the divine. The value of analogies lies not in providing definitive answers, but in stimulating our imagination, deepening our reverence, and inviting us into a deeper contemplation of the divine mystery. They are stepping stones on a path that ultimately leads to the recognition that the fullness of God surpasses our finite comprehension. The ontological gap hypothesis isn't merely an abstract concept. It finds expression in divine attributes like omnipotence, omniscience, and omnibenevolence. These terms convey God's unique nature, transcending human limitations and understanding. They are glimpses into a reality beyond our comprehension. The ontological gap hypothesis suggests a profound difference between the divine and human. Yet religious traditions testify to experiences of the divine. These encounters offer glimpses into a reality beyond the ordinary, moments where the veil between the finite and infinite thins, inviting us to approach with wonder and humility. The ontological gap hypothesis, while a persistent theme in theological thought, has been interpreted and approached through a variety of lenses, reflecting the diversity of religious traditions and philosophical perspectives. Just as light refracts differently through various prisms, so too does this concept take on different hues and shades depending on the theological framework through which it's viewed. Some theological traditions, particularly those emphasizing the absolute sovereignty and transcendence of God, view the ontological gap as an unbridgeable chasm. God, in this view, exists in a realm of such utter otherness that any attempt at human comprehension is inherently limited. Our finite minds, bound by the constraints of time, space, and language, can only grasp faint shadows of the divine reality. Other traditions, however, while acknowledging the distinction between the divine and the human, emphasize the possibility of relationship and even communion. They point to moments of revelation, mystical experiences, and the indwelling presence of the divine as evidence that the gap, while real, is not insurmountable. The ontological gap hypothesis, therefore, doesn't lend itself to a single monolithic interpretation. It serves as a starting point for a rich and multifaceted theological exploration, inviting us to consider the nature of God, the limits of human understanding, and the possibilities of religious experience. Process theology, influenced by Alfred North Whitehead, challenges traditional views of God's immutability, proposing a dynamic, relational understanding of God. It suggests a narrowing of the chasm between the divine and the human, emphasizing God's dipolar nature, both unchanging and responsive. This perspective fosters a more intimate relationship between the divine and creation, highlighting interconnectedness and dynamic engagement. In contrast to approaches that seek to bridge or narrow the ontological gap, some theological traditions embrace what's known as the negative way, or apophatic theology. This approach, rooted in the belief that God's essence transcends human comprehension, emphasizes what God is rather than what God. Apophatic theologians argue that any attempt to define God in positive terms inevitably falls short, as our finite language and concepts are inadequate to capture the infinite. They contend that by focusing on what God is, not limited by time, not confined by space, not subject to change, we can cultivate a deeper sense of awe, reverence, and humility in the face of the divine mystery. This approach doesn't deny the possibility of religious experience or the significance of divine attributes. Instead, it encourages a posture of epistemic humility, recognizing the limitations of our knowledge and the importance of approaching the divine with a sense of wonder and an openness to the unknown. The negative way, while perhaps seeming counterintuitive, offers a valuable corrective to any tendency to reduce God to human-sized concepts. It reminds us that the divine always transcends our attempts at definition, and that true encounter often lies in the silence beyond words, in the humbling recognition of the vastness of the unknown. The ontological gap hypothesis hasn't been confined to the realm of theology. Philosophers throughout history have grappled with the implications of this concept, exploring its relationship to reason, knowledge, and the limits of human understanding. Rationalist philosophers like René Descartes sought to establish a firm foundation for knowledge through reason alone. Descartes' famous dictum, "Cogito ergo sum, I think therefore I am," aimed to ground certainty in the subjective experience of the thinking self. However, even Descartes acknowledged the limits of reason when confronted with the infinite, arguing that certain truths, such as the existence of God, could only be grasped through intuition or revelation. Empiricist philosophers like David Hume emphasized the importance of sensory experience as the basis for knowledge. Hume, known for his skepticism, questioned the validity of metaphysical claims that went beyond the realm of empirical verification. He argued that while we might have faith-based beliefs, these beliefs couldn't be justified solely on the grounds of reason. The ontological gap hypothesis, in the context of these philosophical debates, raises fundamental questions about the nature of knowledge, the limits of human understanding, and the relationship between faith and reason. It invites us to consider whether the divine, by its very nature, might lie beyond the reach of our rational faculties, requiring different ways of knowing, such as intuition, revelation, or mystical experience. The ontological gap hypothesis shapes our understanding of existence, faith, and doubt. It evokes awe, wonder, and humility, but also feelings of isolation and despair. It invites us to reflect on the limits of our knowledge and find meaning within our finite lives. We've journeyed from the vastness of the cosmos, where stars ignite and galaxies waltz, to the depths of the human soul, where questions of meaning and existence echo through the corridors of our being. Throughout this exploration, the ontological gap hypothesis has served as both compass and catalyst, guiding our inquiry into the nature of the divine and illuminating the profound chasm that separates our finite minds from the infinite. We've seen how this concept, woven into the fabric of theological discourse for centuries, finds expression in diverse forms, from the meticulous arguments of Aquinas to the dynamic interplay of process theology. We've wrestled with the limitations of language, those fragile vessels of meaning that strain to contain the boundless ocean of the divine. We've glimpsed the allure of the negative way, a path that leads not through definition but through a humbling recognition of the ineffable. The Ontological Gap Hypothesis, however, is not a destination but a departure point. It's not a philosophical dead end but an invitation to explore the uncharted territories of thought, where reason and revelation dance on the precipice of understanding. It's a reminder that the pursuit of truth, particularly when it comes to the nature of the divine, is not a linear progression, but a spiral dance, drawing us ever closer to the heart of the mystery while acknowledging that some enigmas may forever elude our grasp. The Ontological Gap Hypothesis teaches us to approach the divine with humility and curiosity. Humility in the face of vast reality, and curiosity that compels us to keep seeking. Imagine a child gazing up at the night sky filled with awe and wonder. They don't understand astrophysics, but their wonder is undiminished. The mystery fuels their curiosity. The Ontological Gap Hypothesis invites us to cultivate that same childlike wonder. Approach the divine with open hearts and minds. Profound experiences arise even without full understanding. As we conclude our exploration of the Ontological Gap Hypothesis, let us not view this concept as a barrier to belief or a constraint on our spiritual aspirations. Instead, let's embrace it as an invitation to journey beyond the familiar shores of our understanding, to set sail on an ocean of mystery, where the horizon of knowledge constantly recedes, beckoning us ever forward. The Ontological Gap Hypothesis doesn't offer easy answers or pre-packaged certainties. It doesn't provide a map to the divine, but rather a compass that points us in the general direction, encouraging us to chart our own course through the uncharted waters of faith, doubt, and the human experience. It's in the wrestling, in the questioning, in the persistent seeking that we often discover the most profound truths about ourselves and the nature of reality. The Ontological Gap Hypothesis, far from being an impediment to faith, can be the very thing that deepens it, that refines it, that transforms it from a set of static beliefs into a dynamic and evolving relationship with the mystery we call God. So let us continue to explore, to question, to seek. Let us cultivate a spirit of humility, curiosity, and wonder, and let us never lose sight of the vast, uncharted territories that lie beyond the horizon of our understanding, where the divine in all its mystery and majesty awaits our continued exploration. What are your thoughts on this theory? Be sure to let me know in the comments. Also, if you found this topic interesting and want to learn more about it, make sure to check the description for a list of books and other resources that you might find useful.
If you enjoy our content, we'd love your support. By joining one of our channel memberships, you help us continue creating videos like this one while gaining access to some amazing perks. As a member, you'll unlock exclusive content available only to supporters, earn loyalty badges to show off in comments and live chats, and enjoy priority responses to your comments, shoutouts, and more. The best part? Memberships start at just $2.99 a month, less than a cup of coffee. Even small contributions make a big difference for the PJ Bible TV team in covering production costs and delivering the content you love. And if you're not ready to become a channel member today but still want to support us, there are other ways to help. Engaging with our videos is a tremendous way to show your support. By taking just a few moments to like the video, share it with friends, family, or on social media, and leave a comment, you're telling the YouTube algorithm to share our content with more people. Your support, no matter how you choose to show it, means the world to us. Thank you for being part of the PJ Bible TV community.